You're listening to SM Media, the #1 place for exclusive content.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the latest edition of the Scottish Football Show, the first show of 2022. Happy New Year to all our viewers and our subscribers. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. Joined as always with Mark Wilson. Mark, Happy New Year. How are we?
Thanks, Scott. It's good to be back. A lot of talking points over the festive period, especially without even the Premier League games, but looking forward to getting stuck into it.
Absolutely. It's going to be a busy show. We're also joined by Shankers. Shankers, welcome back to the show.
I'm good, Scott. Good to be back. As Wilson says, we've had a wee break, so there's plenty to catch up on.
We have had a winter break. This winter break was planned and didn't result in any changes of plan. Let's just get into the talking points over the past few weeks. Obviously, we were expecting the winter break to be pretty quiet, and it's not. Obviously, we know the government decided to, due to the pandemic, the new variant, to limit the crowds back to 500 fans, and the winter break was pulled forward by the clubs. Most of them agreed that the winter break should be pulled forward. Wilson, we didn't expect this to be obviously happening. What's been your overall kind of thoughts on it, and did the clubs make the right decision to bring the winter break forward?
Again, I think a lot of it comes down to what we're told. Again, none of us here are doctors or scientists, whatever, that can give these answers. But some of the things that's been going on, I always think Boxing Day is probably the biggest day in the Scottish football calendar. Yeah. That, and maybe it used to be Scottish Cup third round day when I was a lot younger. That was always a big day as well, early January. Again, if you look at, over the pandemic and things, loads of times. However, I'll be honest, I just cannot see, and I know it would be unfair, but I just cannot see the logic in 500 supporters at a game. I can't see the logic. A good friend of mine had his wee boy. He was one of the lucky, well, I would call him unlucky, one of the lucky ones that was at Ibrox, and he's putting stuff in his social media page of him and his wee boy at Ibrox. I forget who they were playing. Apologies for that. And I'm thinking, why could they not have even 500 in the top tier of the Govan stand and 500 in the bottom? And same again, Copeland, Broomland. And at your least giving these guys that spend a lot of money on season tickets and all that the opportunity. It looks terrible, and it looks even worse if they just close the stadiums. I just think it looks completely shambolic. The same, I'm sure they could separate these guys in certain areas and all that. And I think it just looks terrible. Did the government make a mistake? Well, I don't think really that's for us to judge. But as I say, the Boxing Day calendar was, it was pretty poor from that point of view, and a lot of disappointed seasons. For every team, I'm not just picking out teams with big stadiums, but even at Rugby Park, you could spread out 3,000-4,000, no problem, safely, with different entrances and exits, to get on with that. So I would say, a mistake from the government. I don't get the 500 person rule. I really just don't get it.
I think it's as if they went 500 is a round number, right? We'll just go with that.
I think that's one of the
complete guess.
That's one of the two things I've kind of noticed, that if it's 500 fans, then it's 500 for Rangers and Celtic, which holds 50,000, and it's 500 for, say, Dalry kind of thing. It's the same number, different stadiums kind of thing. That's about one of the things I was confused about. The second thing is, if they're going to move the winter break back 3 weeks, and it's going to kick off next Monday, and they're going to have an announcement that day, it's weird. It's strange to think they're going to go from 500 to full stadium straight away. It doesn't strike me as something they're going to do, Shankers.
Aye, that was one of the things when it was announced to start with. They were giving fans the best possible chance of returning for after the winter break, and I just thought anybody with at least bit of common sense say that I'll be shocked if it goes from 500 to full capacity straight away. Although when you're looking at numbers and stuff like that coming on the news, nothing's really nothing's really like the numbers on the dropping, which means like, oh, it was the right decision. It doesn't seem as if anything's changed, so it just shows that the decision didn't really have to take place in the first place. 3 years down the road, from my bit to Newcastle, probably just as much as going up to Aberdeen, and there's 60,000 people there, and there's 500 folk at Aberdeen. It just doesn't really make sense. I don't know how they couldn't have, as they said, based it on capacity of ground. So, which they done. I'm sure they done that at some point last year when they were bringing it in.
Well, the Ayrshire Derby, the first game of the season. Remember,
pre-season.
There was no Ayr United fans there, but there easily could have been, and that's a good point that Shankers makes. You've probably seen from my social media page. I was at Old Trafford on the 3rd of January.
You're watching the darts over Christmas. You're watching the darts over Christmas as well. Things like that.
Incredible. And like, I would have counted in one hand how many folk I saw. My folk were looking at me for wearing a mask, and my wee boy, and looking, I was going, what are they wearing masks for? The place was bouncing, they were singing. The hotel, bar, and restaurant, they looked at me as if I had 2 heats with a mask on. Because no one was caring down there. Absolutely no one was caring down there. And as I say, going back to the 500 points, surely every stadium, and I think it's a wee bit of distrust in the public as well. You know, they should be saying, right, you can go to this game, but you need to be safe. So if there's, 50,000 season ticket holders at Rangers, right, 25,000 can go, but you need to police yourselves.
Yeah.
You can't all be jumping over seats if you score a last-minute winner. And you trust the public. Trust them to do that. And I know that maybe favours the big teams that they get 25,000 and others might not get that capacity, but I find the whole thing bizarre. But the only thing I can say, and I know you two guys might disagree, is if I was a Celtic or Rangers player or a Celtic or Rangers supporter, I wouldn't be wanting any Old Firm games unless it's maximum capacity.
Absolutely.
You don't want to be playing their games, because last season was, from a neutral point of view, watching the football in general, it wasn't good watching any of the games, empty stadiums and stuff like that. I know there was crowd noise and all that, and you didn't really, but that was absolutely rubbish. And anybody that says they enjoyed that is kidding themselves on. It was good to football and to talk about it and watch it, but no crowds is absolutely murder. And that's how, when there's an England game, not an England game, but an English game on now, I'm glued to it, because even just to see Notts Forest Arsenal, they are not Notts Forest scoring the goal and the crowds are getting up here. It's I really don't get it. There's no really too much else you can say on it, because we don't really know the ins and outs.
And I always think about now, again, it doesn't matter who wins it or whatnot, but even when Rangers won the league, the celebrations outside Ibrox, going along Glasgow, the George Square, those are the statistics I want to see. I want them to turn to say, right, from that occasion, 1,000 people get COVID, 999 of them were at George Square, 999 were outside Ibrox. There was no difference to those punters being outside Ibrox or in the seats watching them. And the way I look at it, it was the same as, I think it was a Spurs player. It was a young boy scored against Man United at Old Trafford, and his parents can't be there to see him do that. All the guys, like, just say, for example, let's just say Joe Aribo. He might only win one league at Rangers, and no one's there to see it. Like, none of the fans in it. I know they won it, and it was 10 in a row. It stopped all that stuff, but you could hit the pinnacle of your career, and no one's there to see it. And I find it was a wee bit disrespectful.
Look at Liverpool as well. Liverpool's first league.
Liverpool,
exactly. And I know the world needs to try to keep moving to some sort, but again, if there's no fans there, for me, it's a farce. It really is a farce.
We'll obviously keep everyone up to date with the latest situation regarding this. It's going to be another week. I think it's the 16th of January is going to be the announcement. I think Celtic play Hibs that night, so it'll be, if it's going back to full stadiums, it'll be a bit of a scramble.
Albert committee are sweating on this statement. They're wanting a full capacity at Beachwood.
Exactly. We'll touch on that a wee bit later on in the show, but we'll get into some transfer business. Obviously, January's the month of transfers, and it's been a busy period so far. Celtic have been a club who've been pretty busy to start off the transfer window. 3 Japanese players have arrived in. Daizen Maida's arrived in a loan deal Yosuke Hideguchi and Rio Hatate have both joined as well, and a fourth deal for Johnny Kenny from Sligo Rovers, plus a likely fifth deal from Riley McGree of Charlotte from the USA. So, since Postecoglou is certainly getting business done early, you've been impressed by how quickly they've operated to get players in the door?
I mean, I think the rumours of the three Japanese fellas were, I think they were, that was quite kind of done before Christmas as such. I think they were just waiting until the transfer window opened. Again, I always think you don't know much about J League football. Let's be honest. And when you got Kyogo and you think, oh, this guy's really good, and this guy's done this guy's done that, and he's kind of hit the ground running. Will every player do that when you sign? I don't know. But it'll certainly will be interesting. I think the positive thing for Celtic fans is it seems as if Postecoglou's making these signings. Yeah, it's not Nicky Hammond, just signing any dud from anywhere to justify his position.
He left his job recently at Newcastle, is that right? I think was he at Newcastle, or was he going to Newcastle?
After his performance,
I think he's just been appointed at
Newcastle. Something like that.
Well, they'll do well in the Championship next year, I think. If he's going to do with the signings, they'll be in League One 2 years if he's involved. But that's the positive. Again, you look at these guys, and I know every signing's a gamble, but signing guys from MLS teams, Charlotte, I think Celtic Rangers not above that. Now these guys might turn out to be brilliant. A wee bit at times Scottish football toughens them up and they turn really good. But I still think Celtic maybe need one or two kind of marquee household names to try and bridge the 6 point gap that's there just now. As I say, but again, we might be totally surprised. I say, and the Japanese guys and the ones that they've signed might be great, but as I say, I still think Celtic need one or two tried and tested big names in to try and claw back this 6 points.
Shankers, any word on Celtic's transfer business?
Wilson kind of covered it all. It's a bit of the unknown into it, and as Wilson said, maybe like signing players like Joe Hart and stuff like that. Like I know Duffy didn't work out, but it was players that people knew and had seen playing previously. And I mean, Celtic fans will be hoping every one of them turns out and hits the ground running just as good as what Kyogo did, because nobody really knew much about him before he came. So it is one of them that it gets it could go really, really well, or it could go pear-shaped. And obviously, if one of them does that and another four, you get away with it. But if there's two or three of them don't hit the ground running, because they're not going to come out and score a barrel load. But if they don't start performing well, because it's a big season for them, that they're still. I don't know what points. I think it might be 6 points or something in it. So it's still close to Rangers. So I think they needed players in though. When you've seen some of their games and you've seen the bench and stuff like that, it lacked. And they only lacked quality. It lacked like quantity of players. There was a lot of players who were coming up through the youth that won. I don't think they were. It was on merit. I think it was because they didn't have a squad. Almost, so a few of them went out on loan, as we've seen in Postecoglou's brought in players. He obviously knows for when he's been managing in Japan, and it's obviously players that he trusts as well and believes that they're good enough to do a job. And if they come over and if they'll start half as good as what Kyogo did, they'll do all right for Celtic.
I think that's what Wilson said it there. Obviously, it looks as if Postecoglou is making the signings. It's different to last year, obviously, when you had people there behind the scenes who looked as if they were bringing players in for the manager. I think it shows you there is a bit of a difference and a bit of a better kind of process for the manager can pick the players. But we'll move on to Rangers. They are one of their biggest, obviously, transfer sagas was the deal with Nathan Patterson that Wilson actually called in the last show, which was very good for Wilson there, picking that out. But Everton did sign him. We believe the deal was £12 to £13 million up front with a few million extra in add-ons. It could potentially, I think it's to do with appearances. Wilson, you called it, obviously, the Patterson deal. What's your overall kind of thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's a great deal for all parties, really, to be honest with you. I think he's a really smashing, emerging talent. Although it would amaze me to see what Stephen O'Donnell's worth now as Scotland's first choice right back. But no, and as I say, a deal for any Scottish player for that amount of money is fantastic. Yeah. He wasn't first choice at Rangers, Tavernier's kind of nailed that spot on his own. I know he's only made 20, 25 appearances for Rangers, but crazy for the kid to knock it down. I think if you get any deal from the Premiership, and especially probably a top 10, top 12 team anyway, and I think it suits all parties. I can't see any situation where he wouldn't. I know he was a sub at the weekend, but he's just signed. I can't see not playing. That's one thing. I can see him starting there as well. As I say, it's a great thing for Scotland as well, and obviously great for Rangers to get that kind of money in. The gamble Rangers had, I think, was, did they play him? Did they maybe sell Tavernier for 2 or 3 million or whatever he's worth, and then play Patterson maybe for a full season, and this time next year get, let's say, 20, 30, or Tavernier could probably put Rangers another 5 or 6 years. He's been good the last couple of seasons, and then take the big money in for Patterson. So, as I say, I think it worked for all parties. I was surprised that there didn't seem, again, we don't know, you maybe need to speak to other people, but I was surprised there wasn't maybe there was a bidding war. I thought maybe a few more teams, but even from the speculation early in the season, Everton looked to be the kind of front runners. And as I say, good luck to him, because it's a good thing for Scotland. You've now got Robertson, Tierney, Patterson, Cooper, McInnes, all playing in what I would say is probably the best league in the world in terms of entertainment and whatnot. So great for all parties, and a big hefty transfer fee for Rangers. So fair play.
Shankers, Wilson's kind of said it there again. It does seem a deal that makes a lot of sense for all parties. Rangers, obviously, it's good money in their pocket, considering that their last sale for that big price was probably kind of Nikica Yelovich. It shows you it's a big sale for them. Nathan Patterson obviously has a chance to play in the Premier League. It just kind of seems to suit everybody, doesn't it?
It does, and I think to get that money for someone who isn't featuring an awful lot, and it wasn't through his own fault. He wasn't playing. It's the captain of the club was in his position, and it was awkward. And Wilson hit the nail on the head. It was probably getting to the point where Van Bronckhorst is like, well, we either have to sell him or play him and drop the captain, and that just wasn't going to happen. So I think the move for everyone was beneficial, and it would just be good to see him going down there and getting a chance and playing, and no there's no malice meant in this whatsoever, but Everton's right back right now is John Joe Kenny, who come up here and loan at Celtic and never really kind of set the hell on fire. So I think that he's got a real good chance of playing down there, and not only that, it's if you do well at Everton, then where can you go? So it's a real good move for him, and Everton's one of the teams that you do see young players coming through their academy. I know he's moved for Rangers, but you see young players getting a chance there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a new chance. Just hope that the new manager that the Everton bring in after the sack Benitez gives him a chance.
That's what I was just going to say. I was talking to somebody about this, and you're thinking that, I mean, as I say, I hope he goes to Everton, plays 5 years, whatever he does. But as you say, Benitez could be out the door. The new manager comes in and thinks, I don't really rate this boy. I don't really fancy.
No, it's.
I'll say maybe 8 to 10 million. Do you know what I mean? To another team, because I thought at the start when Van Bronckhorst came in, I thought a big statement from Van Bronckhorst would be stick Patterson in. Not that it's a big gamble, but put Patterson in, drop the Rangers captain.
He tried him in kind of right midfield a couple of weeks.
A lot of the time he was bringing him on in front of Tav, but it was like when there was one goal in the game, and it was almost as if he was
safety net, getting the minutes on the pitch. But fair play to the kid.
But it's obviously big for Scottish football as well. A homegrown talent going for that amount of money. There's talk of Aaron Hickey as well, potentially going to the Premier League for a big bit of money as well. So there's obviously there's a lot of talent in Scottish football at the moment. Kilmarnock have a new manager, and it is not Warren Feeney like we thought it was going to be a couple of weeks ago. It is indeed Derek McInnes. Wilson, obviously, we were talking before, just after Tommy Wright was dismissed, that Kilmarnock needed a manager that was going to excite the support. Derek McInnes seems to be that guy. He seems to have kind of got a lot of excitement in the Rugby Park faithful.
Well, I think if you check back your shows as well, Scott, when our good friend Rory Alloy was on, before Tommy Wright get the job, that's who I was campaigning for. But I'll be honest with you, and as I say, you have to give the board and James Fowler enormous credit. I thought it'd be well without Kilmarnock's reach, but they've worked wonders to get him. He's brought in his own coaching team. I would imagine he's going to bring in some of his own players. Off to a great start yesterday down at Queen's. So as I say, I was shocked. I mean, I wanted him. That's who I wanted. Now, if it falls in its face, I'm sure you guys in Rory will be the first ones to be on my case. But I think it's a good move for Kilmarnock. I really do. It shows that wee bit a progress that. But again, you know, we had this chat in the WhatsApp last night. You know, he won the game yesterday at Queen's. You look at the league table. Tommy Wright's record wasn't bad. You know, I think in other seasons he could probably count himself unlucky. But I think with the fans, it was the manner of the football. And obviously more fans are at home than away, and the home record was really poor. So I think the fans kind of were on the case about Tommy, and he left the club. But I think it's a gamble for Derek, to be honest, because he's obviously used. When he was at Aberdeen, being in the upper areas of the Premier League. I'm quite confident. I have been all season, even when Tommy Wright was in charge. I was confident that Kelly would win the first or the championship and get us promoted. But next year will be a big season for him. Again, some Kilmarnock fans will have the expectation they should be taking us into the top 6. We need to wait and see who he gets to sign and if there's money available. But I think if he gets us up this year, keeps us in the Premier League, you know, safely, 10th and above, I think he'll be quite happy, and then let's see how he goes. The problem with that is Derek McInnes, for me, is a big name. He's been linked with bigger jobs than Kilmarnock in the past, because a couple of good seasons at Kilmarnock, and then possibly a bigger club would come in for him as well. But hopefully, I think, and this is just my opinion, I think he might be there for a few seasons, and then might be a top replacement, maybe to replace Sir Steve Clarke when he gets the Brazil job. So
that could be a big call.
There's a big call for you.
Yeah, we'll go back to that. That's maybe a New Year's prediction. We'll go back to later on. Shankers, obviously, McInnes is obviously in at Kilmarnock, but Ayr have got a new manager as well, and Lee Bullen, a couple. What's your overall thoughts on both of them?
I think Walton kind of covered Kilmarnock pretty well there. I think when Tommy Wright was first appointed, I think if they got McInnes then, it would have been a brilliant signing. Obviously, Tommy Wright, Kilmarnock went down under Tommy Wright, and go and get someone who's probably a better manager than him when they're in a division below is somebody doing. I don't know who else was on the list, but there can't be many names closer to what. No, I'm not saying what he's done in football, but for what he'd done with Aberdeen when he was there, keeping them so consistent, we almost a selling club as well, selling their best players year in, year out, and still keeping them third and even second at some stages as well. So to get him is a real coup. And I think now Kilmarnock, I always believed that they were going to win the league. I know I tipped Hamilton at the start of the season, but after the first week, I changed my mind. So I think Kilmarnock will go up, but it's just if you go up, you want to stay up, like similar to what Hearts done. Hearts went up, but Hearts had a far superior squad in the Championship than what Killie will have, and I just think if they are going to go up, they would need to anything an awful lot to stay there, in my opinion. But it's a brilliant appointment, and I think there'll be a kind of get the fans back in a couple of weeks, and there'll be a real good buzz about Kilmarnock now with Derek McInnes. He's got his men, is it Docherty? And
Tony Docherty and Paul Sheeran.
Docherty and Paul Sheeran. So he's got his men that was there at Aberdeen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
people will also want to come and play for him as well. But you might find that there's players that he played with, that he managed at Aberdeen or something like that. If they go up, you could attract players that they maybe wouldn't have attracted with another. If Warren Feeney got the job, they maybe wouldn't have been able to attract that calibre of player. On the other appointment, it was a bit kind of left field. It was like last couple of days, the name just get through in, and then that was it. There was a lot of names getting branded about for that job, and fair play to them, because it could have been, fans were demanding a manager, and I think if Graham Matthew, I think if he wasn't there, I think they could have maybe been forced to rush into getting somebody else, maybe sooner than what they have. But I think with him there, he's obviously been higher up with Hibs and stuff. So I think he's maybe brought a wee bit of calmness and composure, and thought if we're doing this, we need to do it right and get the right man for the fit and stuff like that they want to hear. So fair play to them, and obviously they won with the interim manager, and then they've went and got a win yesterday.
Beaten Wraith and Arbroath in the last 2 games.
Wraith and Arbroath, exactly, two teams that are up there. So it just shows, and I was looking at the championship tables. There's really no many points. First and fifth, there's definitely no many points. I think it's 6, but even with Hamilton in there below them, championship's one of them. See if you go on a run with 3 or 4 or 5 wins, you end up there. But also, again, if you go on a couple of losses, but I just think it's time that the manager, no Derek McInnes, probably more the air manager, time, because I know how impatient the supporters are there, and if that guy goes and loses 3 games, they're on his back, and that's just sometimes not what you need. Give them the rest of the season, keep them up, which I'm more than confident that he will keep them up anyway. But this 6 months, let him breathe in and get the way he wants to play, identify players that he wants to keep, one that he wants to offload, the new players to get in, and then judge them for next season going forward, because he's inheriting somebody else's squad now, and if he staying in that division and then building on next year is probably the kind of future plan, is what they're actually looked at. He's probably put a plan in place for next year if he stay up, rather than this year. I think it'll just be keep us in the division and then go again. But
it's too impressive appointments for both here and Kilmarnock, obviously, to different ends of the championship. We'll just a couple other bits of news, obviously, before we get into our 2 main things in this show. Hibs have obviously been busy making some signings as well. They went for a striker from Bodo Glimt, Ewan Henderson for Celtic on loan, and Harry Clark. Wilson, we'll quickly get your thoughts as well. That's big business for Hibs, obviously. Sean Maloney's getting his business done early as well.
Yeah, I think when any new manager comes in, he wants to sign, players that he knows or players he's came across early doors, and he's obviously identified maybe what Hibs need. I think he might have to be prepared for a few bids for some of the players that he's already got. So I think there'll be more ins and outs at Hibs, to be honest. But again, Sean needs time as well. Just because he's this kind of big name in Scottish football and the people he's worked under and the people he's worked with, it's not cut and dry that he's going to be a great manager. So it's going to be interesting. The Hibs one interests me because Sean Maloney's name was mentioned, for a lot of jobs, and he's obviously been offered and taken Hibs, but it'll be interesting to see what the kind of furore is about. And I always think, again, he must be well respected if he's part of the Belgian, or he was part of the Belgian setup, but I don't think he's responsible for the way Belgium play and how good some of the players are. So it'll be interesting, but I think he'll need to bring in, because I think he could possibly lose one or two of the players he's got there. But again, it's the same as any manager. He's got some deals done. He's kind of laying his markers down early. So it'll be interesting to watch what goes on Easter Road.
On Clyde one, I was listening to Clyde last night, and there was kind of murmurs of Martin Boyle, possibly Celtic or somewhere else. I don't know.
I heard that there's gossip about maybe going to the Middle East or something.
Yeah, the Saudi Arabian team. Yeah, the Celtic one as well.
I don't think Celtic would pay 3 million for him. I heard that figure quoted. I don't know that he's not worth that. I just don't think.
I just think Martin Boyle's here in Celtics. I just don't think he's. I'm not saying he's
does
not
it go?
good
Does
enough,
it go straight
but
into the Celtic team? Like
that's what I wondered.
I think he's really, really good.
Jota, James Forrest that play wide. It
he's-
would be a strange one, but as I say, Celtic have bought tons of players from Hibs in the past, so it definitely wouldn't surprise me. I'll put it that way.
Obviously, we'll keep everyone up to date with the transfer news over the next couple of weeks. We'll obviously have a couple of more shows between now and the end of the window. Let's get into our big things in the show this week. We'll cover the Championship, League One, League Two, the next show as well. We'll get through all the leagues later on, but we've got a wee bit of a challenge for the panel tonight. I'm going to get in on it as well. You might have seen a wee list that was going about the top 50 players of 2021 that was kicking about the tabloids in the past few weeks. It got a bit of attention, so we've decided we're not going to do 50 because we'll be here all night. With all three of us, I think we've got work tomorrow. We're going to do a top five players of 2021. We're taking into account, obviously, from January to May, obviously last season, and then basically August to December this season. So we've got a top five. I think we've not seen each other's, we've not talked to each other about them. Who wants to go first?
Are we all doing 5, all doing 4, all doing 3, all doing 2, all doing 1?
Could do. Whatever way you want to do.
They just on the 50. I don't think I can 50 good players in total.
I had Danny McGrain in mine.
Aye, but obviously my top 5.
Well, I'll go first then for my number 5. I put in just the aforementioned Martin Boyle.
Okay.
I think he had a decent season last year, and he kind of hit the ground running a wee bit this year and did well up until probably the kind of defeat in the League Cup final, and then he's kind of filtered away a wee bit. Always think opposition teams, when they know they're going to come up against Martin Boyle, he has got great pace. He's blessed with great pace, so he can kind of manage it sometimes. I think some teams that are caught unaware, then he exploits it, especially early in the game. But the kind of better teams, I think, your Celtic Rangers can, apart from that League Cup semi-final, enough they can match up against it because their defenders are just as quick. But I did think in a good season, chipped him a good few goals. Was probably Hibs' star man, probably from about January till maybe September, October. But he's made my top 5 anyway.
So you're going for Martin Boyle.
Martin Boyle.
5, right? Okay. Shankers, who you got number 5?
I've got Craig Gordon.
Okay.
I just think the last season Hearts in the Championship, it was probably instrumental in them coming up. Boys scored a lot of goals, but I think some of the saves, Gordon. And Gordon's one of the ones. He's probably 10 to 15 clean sheets a season, how good a goalie is. And then I think he's fully that on this season, definitely, how good he's been. And not only that, I know it's based in the Premier League, but he's been really good with the national team as well since he come back into the fold. And I just think he's one of Hearts' better players, even though he's a goalie and he's a captain of the club. And it's just, I think just his presence there, he's one of the ones that I can imagine demanding standards and stuff like that on the pitch, and it still to this day blows my mind how he's not still the Celtic goalkeeper right now. But he gets in mind. I think he's had a really good couple of years, not just 2021. I think he's had a good couple of years, and I think he looks really comfortable back at Hearts, where he obviously started his football. I think he looks kind of back at home now and really enjoying his football again.
So you've got Craig Gordon at number 5. My number 5.
I can't wait to score by him in a couple of weeks either.
I can't wait to bring me home his big jersey, big frame.
I have got in number 5. I'm going to put Glenn Kamara. I think the first half of the year, I think he was probably one of Rangers' best players. Obviously, a real talent in midfield. I don't think he hit the heights more in the second half of the year, but I think he's slowly coming into the game now. I think that under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, I think he's he's found his kind of real position again. I think I would probably have him at number 5. So I'm going to go in Kamara in there. Wilson, who's number 4?
4, and again, I'm probably basing this more on January to May, but I've went for Steve Davis.
Okay.
I think just with the guys in midfield around him, I know they possibly get more press because they're more dynamic, but I still think the likes of Kamara, Aribo, these guys get forward, etc., because of the security that Steve Davis provides. He's probably, in my opinion, again, one of the better technical players as well. You know, very rarely gives a ball away, good first touch, can pass forward, side, backwards. You know, I think, and he has been over his career, you know, you don't play that many games for top teams and have that many caps if you're not a really good player. He possibly could have just got higher up, but I don't think he's maybe done a lot this season. He's kind of went kind of anonymously through the season. He's not getting as much kind of paper talk about him as well. And I know Rangers are kind of blessed with a lot of players in that position, but Steve Davis, my number 4.
So Wilson's got Davis at number 4. Shankers, who you got number 4?
I've got Joe Aribo at number 4. I think he's been really good over the last kind of year to 18 months for Rangers. Last season, I thought he was really good, and I was one of the ones thinking, is he just playing like this because there's no pressure of supporters and stuff like that? But then I think this season he's probably been Rangers' best player, and he's really come into it, and it's one of the ones where you worry now if he goes in as a good African Cup of Nations, and it's January, and you're thinking, I know they finish at the end of January, but you're thinking if he goes in as a good African Cup of Nations, then the chances are he's not going to be playing with Rangers next season. And even if he doesn't have a good African Cup of Nations, I think even just the form that he's up this season, how good he is, he's no. I would have to look at his numbers for goals and assists, but I wouldn't imagine it's too that good for the kind of attacking midfield role that he kind of plays. But it's other things. He's the kind of, he gets the ball and makes things happen and gives the ball to, gets the ball in the middle and gives it to Kent, Morelos, Hadji, Roof. He releases them and allows them to play. And I think a lot of that comes down to, like I said, Davis and Kamara behind him as well. But I just think he uses quality, and he's really come into his own, especially the second half of the year this season. And he's probably been one of the kind of standouts in the league so far. So why he's in mine.
Aribo number 4 for Shankers. I agree with you. I've got Joe Aribo number 4. I just think he's went up a level this season compared to last season. Although I thought he was pretty good last season, I think he has stepped up another gear. Probably one of the 2 best players in the league. We'll come on to that later on. But yeah, I think he's went up another level this year. So I've got Aribo number 4. Wilson, who's number 3?
Well, I've got Joe Aribo at number 3.
Aribo number 3, right? Okay.
You've said everything about him. As I say, I think he's the better second half of the year.
Yeah.
Although he was very consistent last year, so that's why he picked Davis. So I've got Aribo at 3.
Aribo at 3. Shankers, who you got at 3?
I've got Kyogo Furuhashi.
Okay.
I know it's 2021 and he's only been here for 5-6 months or whatever, but I just think for where Celtic were at the start of the year to where they are now, I think he's got a lot to do with that. And I think he's brought a real... I don't think I've seen one player... It's as if he gives the likes of Ralston and all that, it's as if he gives all his teammates belief that he's kind of almost been a breath of fresh air since he come in. And I just think for what he's done in that short space of time, to where Celtic were to where they are now, and I just think he's got a lot to do with that. And that's... It's easy to, when you take everything into account of where he came from Japanese football into Scottish football to the unknown, and then he's and it's not just doing that, it's doing that and then coming and hitting the ground running and scoring the goals and getting assists. It looked as if he was playing through injuries at some point, and then especially in that cup final. I mean, the goals in the cup final, the second one is a world class goal, and I just think he's been a breath of fresh air since he came for Celtic fans, and I just think that probably is enough to merit him in my top 3 for what he's done for the club in such a short space of time. So that's why he's in.
So you've got Kyogo number 3. At number 3, I've got Martin Boyle. Wilson, can I explain why Martin Boyle should be in the top 5? I think last season he was a big part of Hibs' success, particularly getting to the Scottish Cup final. People seem to forget, I know Jack Ross lost his job, but Hibs had a really good start to this season. I would say Martin Boyle was probably the main man. Obviously, his performance in the League Cup semi-final against Rangers as well. Obviously, maybe not the last month or so hasn't been the same, but yeah, I mean, for the first 11 months, you can't argue how good he's been. So I've got Martin Boyle number 3 in my list. Wilson, who's the runner-up? Who's second?
Number 2, I've got Alan McGregor. I think he was a massive part of the success for Rangers last year in winning the league. And I think this year, you can question the defence, you can maybe question his record this year, but they're still 6 points clear and he's the goalie. I know he's kind of flitted in 1 or 2 games they've played McLaughlin, but Rangers just aren't the same team with John McLaughlin in goals. And I think he's a good goalkeeper, but he's just no way at the level of Alan McGregor. And as I say, I think Rangers gained a lot of points last year from Alan McGregor's saves late on in games, which shows his concentration, because he's probably maybe only made this season maybe 1-2 saves a game, whereas last season some games Rangers were under the cosh, and he's made 6 or 7 and basically guaranteed the points. So McGregor's my number 2.
You've got McGregor in the number 2 position. Shankers, who you got in second?
I've got McGregor as well.
Okay.
Alan McGregor though.
He was writing that down as well.
I know. I got him.
I'll just throw McGregor to be fair.
McGregor obviously get made this season. He get made the cut. I think last season it was a poor season for Celtic overall, but I think he picked one player that probably kind of stood out for them and done well. It was him, and I think he had this season been made the captain after Scott Brown left. He had a lot to take on, and I think Celtic, I know they're still behind in the league and stuff like that, but they've went and won a cup. I think he had a really good summer as well with Scotland.
Yeah.
So I think he's took on the kind of captaincy role well, and he looks like a real kind of leader when you're watching Celtic now. So I think he's kind of taken everything into his stride, and it was one of the ones where if Brown stays on another year and still the captain, does McGregor go? The teams come in for him. There was talk of Leicester coming in for him, stuff like that. And then he gets made the captain. He almost feels now that he will not leave Celtic. He'll be there for the rest of his career. That's the way you kind of look at it once he's been made captain. And I think he's playing really well this year. I think he's one of the ones. I remember I used to say Celtic are the same team when Scott Brown's not playing, and I think that's the same with Callum McGregor when he's not playing. I think it was a Johnson game. I think he maybe missed it. I was watching it, and it was like I think it was Beaton and Turnbull and Rogic, and I just feel that something's missing. And I just think that's because of how good a player and how instrumental McGregor is in the way Celtic play and stuff like that. And he's 100 mile an hour, but not in a bad way. You know what I mean? You get players that are 100 mile an hour and you want them to kind of chill out, but I think he's like that, but it's in a good way. He's all energy, and I think he plays probably every single game in 90 minutes, every single game, most seasons. So that's why he's in.
So you've got Callum McGregor at number 2. At number 2, I've got Craig Gordon. Wilson's going to explain Craig Gordon well. Great season last season, getting Hearts promoted up to the Premiership. Obviously took back the Scotland number 1 jersey, and obviously with the Premiership, he's saved Hearts a few massive points as well. So Craig Gordon for me makes it the number 2. Number 1, Wilson, who is the best player of 2020-21 in Scottish football in your opinion?
It's Craig Gordon. It's Craig Gordon.
Okay.
Again, I think and it's a wee bit kind of touch on what Shankers said as well. I think with Callum McGregor, I think when it was done by the newspaper and it was on, it caused a big furore. I actually think a lot of Callum McGregor's Scotland performances were probably going towards him being crowned their number one as such. And as I say, but I couldn't justify many Celtic players being in it because of how poor the previous season was. Now, again, to lose, to your rivals by 20 plus points, whatever it was, just showed you the kind of shambolic season it was. And I think even Callum McGregor himself would say he probably never reached the dizzy heights from January to May. But we've spoken enough about Craig Gordon, but he's definitely my number one. I think he's outstanding.
Craig Gordon, number one for Mark Wilson. Mark Shankland, who's number one in your list?
I've got James Tyrrell there.
Okay.
I just think for last season as the captain and how kind of monumental the season was. I think it led, for example, really good. There's a lot of people who say that's because there's no supporters again, and you could argue that. You could honestly argue the case that there really is a case there, but I think he's carried it on this season. I think his numbers for assists and stuff like that. I know a lot of his goals are penalties, but it's more assists. I think the way Gerrard allowed him to play contributed to that. Well, as Van Bronckhorst come in and he's kind of doing that as well. I think a lot of his good performances was to do with the fact that he did have somebody like Patterson behind him, kind of pushing him on. And I just think now that he's away and he's getting nobody there, I just hope he doesn't get too composed and stuff like that, and can almost think, well, if I don't play good, who's going to play for me? Whereas I think it was a case if he didn't play well, there's an able replacement behind him in Patterson. I just think captain Rangers to win the league last year, and then I was looking at his numbers earlier on. I think he's got 10 or 12 assists already this season, and maybe 5 or 6 goals for right back. I just think he's had a really good 18 months, but obviously this is to do with 2021 and captain Rangers to win the league in such a big season, and then carrying it in this year and as a captain as well, and with fans back in the stadium, he's actually doing all right. So that's why he's mine.
No last, don't worry.
I agree with you. I've got Tavernier number one as well. I just think he's last season. I think I said on here he was my player of the year last season. I thought he was arguably the best player in the league. He's kept his stats going. He's been pretty consistent. Obviously, top assists, 6 goals in the league this season. I know Wilson will say that a lot of them were penalties, but
probably all.
But obviously, I mean, he's that talisman. He's that prolific captain that could probably help Rangers as well. I go back to that. Was it St John's time? The goalie won that game against St Johnstone. Like captain's player, just
probably a penalty.
No, that was the one that was over his head. It was a brilliant goal. A lot of just prolific. Obviously, if you're keeping part of a £13 million player out of the team, you must be doing all right. So I've got Tavernier at number one. We should just say as well, what is a list for 2021? It's hard to really pick a list like that, isn't it? Because you're taking 2 seasons into account in 2 halves. It's hard.
No, it is a hard one, but
I mean, I've just got. I mean, a couple of honourable mentions: Turnbull, Callum McGregor, Alan McGregor, Goldson, Boyce. They're 5 players that were scrabbled off my top 5. So if you want to have any honourable mentions that you felt you were unlucky not to make it, then
I mean, I think if you look at Morales as well, Nisbet, few goals kind of over the piece. But again, I think with the guys we've mentioned that they've kind of been consistent over longer periods of time than others. You know, our list or our team is going to look probably a wee bit different from, August to December that we're going to do. These guys, there'll be guys that are not mentioned in your top 5 from the full calendar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I've made it into this team, so it's a good exercise to be fair.
It was between Tav and Porteous for me, but Tav just edged.
Well, he's the captain of my 11.
Right, let's get into that. How we want to do this? If we want to just go individual, you can pick your 1 to 11, or we'll just do that. I think that's probably better. You can.
Right. Okay.
Right, Shankers, you go first. What is your team of the season so far in the Premiership for 2021 to basically now? Who's been your team of the season?
Am I saying my full team?
Full 11.
See, just before I say this, on the transfers, I seen a rumour that Rangers were interested in that young boy for PSG. Is it
Xavi Simons?
Aye, he's playing for them tonight.
Aye, he was playing that night as well. I saw that,
in the shop window.
Aye.
Jeez, oh,
my opinion on that is, I don't know if it's true or not, but I think there's a Giovanni Van Bronckhorst link or kind of chase.
Is he Dutch or anything? The boy,
yeah, I think he is Dutch. Aye.
Is he?
But
That's a good link.
I think there's a lot of teams, to be fair, looking at Xavi Simons. But
right,
what's your team of the season so far?
I'll count how many I've got the same.
That's what I'll do as well, actually.
Yeah.
Gordon, there's one.
One.
I've got Gordon, Tavernier, Suter, Ryan Edwards of Dundee United, Calvin Bassey, Boyle, McGregor, Aribo, Jota is a midfield four, and Kyogo and Tony Watt up front.
Okay, so you've got.
I don't know if you're want to dissect it, Ken. I don't want
we can do that at the end. I mean, we can
do for this and he's in it for that. It's almost a bit self-explanatory. Strikers are in it for scoring goals. Defenders are in it for being welcome.
Aye, so what we'll do is we'll see how many we agree on at the end, and we can obviously debate a couple of why this guy should be in and things like that. Wilson, what is your team of the season? First of all, what's your formation?
4-3-3.
I was 4-4-2.
4-4-2. Shankers went the old-fashioned route.
4-3-3, but got versatility in there. Right, so it's Craig Gordon, Tony Ralston,
okay,
Charlie Mulgrew, Ryan Porteous, and Calvin Bassey.
Okay.
Midfield three: Callum McGregor, Tom Rogic, and Joe Aribo.
Okay.
And up front, Kyogo, Morales, and Tony Watt.
Okay.
I forgot about like Ralston and Rogic. Like how good a season they've had.
It's a start to the season. It's the start and the kind of hype, you know.
So my team is Craig Gordon, James Tavernier, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Ryan Edwards, Stephen Kingsley, a midfield three of Carl McGregor, Joe Aribo and Ian Harkes, and a front three of Jota, Tony Watt and Kyogo Furuhashi. So I'm just going through it now. We all agree on the goalkeeper.
Gordon's a stick on.
Gordon's a stick on. Aye, I don't think there's really any.
2-1 for the right back, so stick to
me and Shankers went for Tavernier and you went for Anthony Ralston.
I'm just going to stop you. You'll scribbling out Ian Harkes now.
Aye.
Did he take a good corner or something?
Needed somebody to cut the oranges.
I've got Ian Harkes.
Get him. He's out. Get him.
Wilson, Anthony Ralston's an interesting one.
By the way,
what was that?
I've got to say, I'm not saying it's interesting, but I've got to say, Ken, that could have been a close one. I didn't even think about him, but see now that you've mentioned it, but we've got to almost take into account to where he was at one point to where he is now.
Yeah. And that was my thinking of it. Now, if somebody was to say to me right now, Kelly can get a right back, it's Anthony Ralston or James Tavernier, I'd be taking James Tavernier every day of the week. But from the start of the season to just now, from where Tony Ralston was, in loan at St Johnstone and not getting a game, and to come into the team, adapt well to the system, okay, chip in with a couple of goals, I think he just deserved a wee bit of a mention. But if I've been outvoted 2-1, I wouldn't argue Tavernier's case in the team.
Me and Shankar have agreed on Ryan Edwards in centre half, and one of the positions we went for three different ones. Carter, Vickers, Suter, Mulgrew, and Ryan Porteous is in there as well.
Who's your other one, Wilson?
For fullback.
Well,
I've got Mulgrew, Porteous, and Bassey. Now I could easily put Charlie Mulgrew at left back and Bassey in. I think he's done really well in there.
I was torn between Bassey and Kingsley.
And that was my thinking on it. I think Bassey's done well at centre half, to be fair. And he's a big athletic figure.
Well, Bassey hasn't really played for August to December. That's the only thing. But It was on my. I
I
was struggling for left back, to be honest.
Kingsley,
I
think Kingsley's probably just got my vote. I think he's probably been a big player for Hearts. Scored a few big important goals as well. Loves a free kick.
But if you both went Edwards over Mulgrew, that was a toss of a coin.
We're unanimous in McGregor and Aribo. I think the midfield, 2 best players in the league so far this season. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it'd be hard to argue that, to be honest. Yeah.
We've disagreed on the other position in midfield. I've went for Ian Harkes. Tom Rogic, Wilson went for. Who did you go for again, Shankers, in midfield?
Well, I was a 2, so
You're
so I'll just get the 2. You can play rock, paper, scissors for us. So nobody in hacked anyway. So
Rogic is in then, and captain.
I think Ian Harkes was a big player for the United at the start of the season. Maybe not so much the past few weeks, but I think he's been very underrated. Tom Rogic, Wilson, he's been a player who's been kind of rejuvenated under Postecoglou. Do you think he's been?
And I think that's why I put him in the team. Aye. You know, I think you know it used to be. You know, he played 60 minutes. You know, most weeks. And, you know, he wasn't getting much from him. He's not particularly done much since he scored that winner against Aberdeen at Hampden. I think the failed bid for 10 in a row season kind of passed him by as well. But he's got a new lease of life, and he looks to be, and he's playing more 90 minutes now within him. I don't think his talent was ever in doubt, his technical ability. Again, I thought the cup finally was excellent as well. So I think he just deserved the nod in there. And I think he's a very talented player, but maybe should show up a wee bit more often.
Shankers, we've both agreed on Jota. I'm amazed Wilson didn't pick Jota. I thought he'd be a stick on for Wilson. What has it been Jota that's impressed you, Shankers?
His hair. Beautiful hair.
I just think he's been really good. I think he's direct. Chances created, goals scored. So I just think he's been really good, and I think Celtic would be crazy not to at least attempt to sign him on a permanent deal. But the only thing is, the worst thing I think about a lone player coming and doing well is it attracts attention for everywhere else.
Yeah.
And once they sign the contract, they become garbage. Once the money's on, that's it, rubbish.
So.
Just because he hasn't played for a good few weeks now, kind of out of my head, to be honest.
I just think
for more. I'm all about goals. We
all agree. We all agree in Kyogo and Tony Watt. I think they're hard to really rule out in there to stick on.
Yeah.
Wilson, Alfredo Morelos. I am amazed you went for Alfredo Morelos.
He scores goals. Do you know what I mean?
Did he go up until maybe a few weeks ago?
I know, but he must have been the top 3 or 4 scorers last year.
No.
And he must be in double figures this year, I would think.
I think him, Watt and Kyogo are running about the same.
So I just think I like a wee bit of aggression. I know it can be managed better sometimes. I like a wee bit of aggression, and I quite liked, when Gerrard tweaked him and he dropped in a wee bit deeper. He's playing balls round the corners, get pace beside him and all that. So people. He scores goals, and that's all I'm looking for in my strikers. So that's why he's in.
So, that was our team of the season so far in the Premiership. Send your thoughts in as well in the comments.
Put them on Twitter and see who gets the most votes.
Who's your top 5? Who's your top 5 for 2021 as a calendar year, and who's been in your team of the season so far? What we're going to do is, before we wrap up the show, I'm going to put the guys on the spot. Give us a 2022 prediction, a New Year's prediction for this year in Scottish football. What's something that will happen in 2022? We'll go with Shankers to kick off.
Oh, that's good. I go with him.
Put you on the spot. We'll give Wilson time to think. And I've got mine ready. Even if you pick it, I'm going for mine.
Talking like Talbot will beat Celtic in the Scottish Cup final 1-0.
Okay. When Shankers was off of Planet Neptune.
A prediction as in
something, a big prediction you've got that will happen in 2022 in Scottish football. It can be a team winning the league, somebody's going to get the golden boot, something's going to happen, and something like that.
I really wish you'd dealt with this before we come on.
I
had something for you. Prediction will be...
We're improvising this show.
I've got a beauty for you. I've got a beauty. If you want me to take the
pressure
off you, Shankers.
You can say yours.
You go first, Wilson.
I'll take the pressure off you, Shankers, right? Here is my prediction. by Hogmanay 2022, the two current Old Firm managers won't be the same as they are just now.
Okay. That's a big one.
I'm gonna say one that I could get slaughtered for, right? Celtic will make the final of the conference.
Think they want to?
What?
I don't think they want to.
I couldn't get it else. It was ridiculous.
So, Shankers, you've got Celtic going to Tirana for the Conference League final. Imagine saying
Where?
that last year. Tirana in Albania.
That Albania, eh?
I think it's in Albania, aye.
I changed my mind. I don't think they actually want to do that.
I don't think they will either. And further down the line, my prediction will be Derek McInnes will replace Steve Clark.
Okay.
Yeah, that's maybe a more realistic one.
Not next year, because he'll still be taking Kelly into the top two.
Another one I would say is that I think the Rangers team in the summer could get picked apart with 4, 5, 6 players. Maybe no 6, 4, 5 players gone away. Teams coming in for them and stuff like that. And I think if Rangers were to go and win the league again, I thought maybe go and win the league again, maybe the Scottish Cup, but maybe not even the Scottish Cup. If Rangers were to go and win the league again, I think they would struggle to keep like Aribo, Amara. If Bassey continues the way he's gone, just even the presidency of he suits English football. He's big, physical. He's quick over the ground as well. Looks like Goldson's going to be away as well. Morelos maybe want to try something different as well. So I think Rangers team could get. That's probably a more realistic one. Edit that Celtic one out. But in the Rangers.
Still getting edited out. Well, Shankers is saying Celtic are going to Tirana in May. I've got two, right? I've got one that's a bit closer to home. I think one or more West of Scotland team will reach the next round of the Scottish Cup. I'm not going to say who. I'm not going to nail my colours to the wall yet.
What's Clydebank have got to?
Clydebank, I think, play Annan, if I'm right. Darvel go to Arbroath, and obviously you play Hearts. We'll touch about that next week. We'll do a wee preview on that next week.
Darvel, I think Arbroath could hit a wee sticky patch now, and I think that goes in favour of them. I think they lost
Anton Dowd's a huge loss for them.
I think they lost 2 players that
and Nobly, I think,
real
back to
instrumental for them, and how well they've done so far. And I think even losing 2 players like that is, I'm not saying it's a body blow. Two players that were doing really well for you, and then I think they were prepared. They would have been prepared for it happening because how well they were doing. Livingston's got to be like that. We're not scoring an awful lot of goals, and we've got somebody out on loan scoring goals for the team that's top of the league below. And I think that was inevitable. He was going to come back. The Falkirk one's a bit strange. How Falkirk loaned somebody out their team.
It's weird, that.
The league above when they're struggling in the league below. I really don't get that one whatsoever. It's maybe how Gary Holt's left his position.
So my first one is one or more West of Scotland teams will reach the next round of the Scottish Cup. My second one, this is my big one. Scotland will reach the World Cup in Qatar.
Never even.
I don't think that's a big one.
I know. I think Scotland. That's my main one. Scotland will reach the World Cup in Qatar.
Oh,
I'm going to say Man City win the Premier League. I mean, what the hell?
I'll say that this isn't to do with Scottish football. It's more a Scottish person that Ross Stewart will be in the Scotland squad for playoffs.
That's a big call. Could see that.
17 goals in 25 games cannot go unnoticed.
No,
do you still hold out hope? Do you still hold out hope that could be you one day?
Me?
Aye. The Ross Stewart came for the same route. Do you know? I think there's a big move in you yet.
He done that 4 years ago.
Well, Scott, I'm sorry, and as much as I'm a massive fan of the West of Scotland teams progressing, I think I would go against that bet. Okay. I think there's.
I've not said on it. The tenor going on it.
Could be.
Well,
Please gamble
as I
responsibly.
want Talbot, Darvel, and Clydebank all to progress, I think they're just possibly a wee step too far.
We will preview them next week. Obviously, there's big games coming up in the next round of the Scottish Cup, and obviously the league will be back. We'll cover them in next week's show. That was obviously good to get back into a normal routine after a winter break. We've done a wee bit of a challenge as well. Send your thoughts in as well on your team of the season and your top 5 for this 2021 so far. Thanks very much to the guys for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure to be back on.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks for having us back. Good to be back.
Thanks very much for everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media. Thanks very much, everyone. See you soon. Cheers.